Solar farms are transforming the way we harness energy with massive installations stretching across deserts, plains, and even water. These sprawling fields of solar panels generate enormous amounts of renewable energy, helping to power entire cities and reduce carbon footprints. Join me for today's video. We're exploring 15 of the largest solar farms in the world. Starting with number 15, the Lymondale Solar Farm in Australia. The Lymondale Solar Farm, which is in the Riverina region of New South Wales in Australia, became the largest solar farm in the country when it opened in 2021. Developed by RWE Renewables, this massive project was a major milestone in their transition to renewable energy, and with a capacity of 313 megawatts, it is capable of powering up to 105,000 homes each year. The facility has 872,000 collectors and covers an area of around 2,200 acres, which is equivalent to more than 1,200 football fields. There's continuous strong sunlight through energy capture and improving its efficiency. There are difficulties, though, as delays in connecting it to the national grid and technical adjustments slowed down the initial ramp-up of energy production. These obstacles have now been mostly overcome, though, and the solar farm is now fully operational, delivering clean energy to the grid. Number 14, Mississauga Solar Park in the United States. Found in northeastern Texas in the U.S., the Mississauga Solar Park has a capacity of 324 megawatts and is the largest in the state. It's an example of Texas's move from its traditional oil and gas industries towards a more balanced energy mix. The solar park covers an area of just over 2,800 acres, has hundreds of thousands of photovoltaic panels that capture the sunlight in the region. Texas has particularly high solar irradiance, which is the measure of light intensity in an area, and this makes it an ideal place for projects like these. The solar park takes full advantage of that climate to produce clean and renewable energy and is enough to power over 65,000, has one of the highest uses of electricity per person of any region in the world. By generating clean energy, it helps offset around 300,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions every year, which is the equivalent of taking nearly 65,000 cars off the road. But it ain't all been easy. The Mississauga Solar Park faced several challenges during its development and commissioning phases. It's also part of a mixed energy approach in Texas, whereby solar projects are becoming increasingly common, but wind energy also is playing a major role too, meaning that if the weather means one falls in production, it'll often mean the other increases. Number 13, the Ivanpah Solar Power Plant in the U.S. The Ivanpah Solar Power Plant, which is in the Mojave Desert of California, has become one of the most important renewable energy projects in the U.S. Covering an area of around 3,500 acres near the California-Nevada border, this facility is a concentrated solar power plant using innovative technology to harness the sun. Operational since 2014, it drives the turbines to produce electricity, a design that allows Ivanpah to achieve high efficiency levels, even under variable solar conditions. The project was completed at a cost of about $2.2 billion, making it one of the most ambitious solar projects of its time, and it was designed to produce enough electricity to power 140,000 homes, while offsetting over 400,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions per year. Environmental concerns were raised regarding the impact on desert wildlife, particularly the endangered desert tortoise. So, to overcome the issues, developers implemented conservation measures, including habitat relocation and monitoring programs. The plant has also faced problems because of its impact on bird populations, as the concentrated sunlight can confuse any birds that fly near the towers. Early in its operation, the plant experienced lower than expected energy output due to factors like weather variability and technical issues. It also showed that CSP plants are far more expensive to build than photovoltaic systems, which have seen a significant cost reduction over the past decade as an installed capacity of 1,000 megawatts, making it one of the largest solar parks in the world when it was brought online in 2017. The solar park was developed under India's National Solar Mission, which aimed to establish India as a global leader in solar energy by achieving a target of 100 gigawatts of solar capacity by 2022. And while this target was missed, mainly because of a slowdown in development during the COVID pandemic, the country has certainly contributed hugely to the development of the technology. Over 4 million solar panels have been installed across the site, generating clean energy that's enough to power nearly 800,000 households. The panels are positioned to capture maximum sunlight in the region, which experiences higher solar irradiance throughout the year. The project offsets as much as 200 million tons of carbon dioxide each year, and it's helped diversify India's energy mix, reducing its reliance on fossil fuels at a time when energy demands are increasing. Some of the technology developed for this park has also helped further potential for other projects, such as the advanced monitoring to moving towards renewable energy and reducing its dependence on fossil fuels. With a capacity of 1,177 megawatts and an estimated cost of $870 million, Noor Abu Dhabi covers an area of almost 2,000 acres and has more than 3.2 million solar panels. There is plenty of sunlight in the country, so these panels are some of the most productive in the world. And with an efficiency rate of 93%, this plant provides power for 90,000 people in Abu Dhabi. Impressively, Noor Abu Dhabi achieved one of the world's lowest tariffs for solar energy during its bidding phase, showing the gradually decreasing costs and increasing competitiveness of solar power in the global energy market. The environmental benefits here are major, as by generating some clean energy, the plant offsets approximately 1 million metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions in a year, which aims to increase the share of clean energy in the total energy mix to 50%. Technologically, Noor Abu Dhabi is using advanced systems to ensure its high efficiency for energy. The use of these panels that were a major driver for the country's move away from imported fossil fuels. Costing an estimated $1.3 billion and with a capacity of 1.35 gigawatts, the plant is a flagship project in Turkey's renewable energy plan. It covers an area of around 7.7 square miles or 20 kilometers, and the power plant is part of Turkey's Renewable Energy Resource Areas program. This initiative hopes to speed up the development of clean energy infrastructure and to encourage the training of skill domestically, as well as boosting Turkish manufacturing. The project was overseen by a leading Turkish energy company in partnership with the Turkish government, and after beginning construction in 2020, it became operational in 2022. Now that it's fully completed, it's able to generate 1,700 gigawatt hours of electricity each year, which is enough to power around 600,000 households. The facility uses a bifacial solar panel, which can generate electricity from sunlight absorbed on both sides of the panel. This innovative design increases energy output compared to traditional photovoltaic heating solar research facilities. Number 9. The Sudair Solar PV Project in Saudi Arabia. The Sudair Solar PV Project, which is in Saudi Arabia's Riyadh province, is a groundbreaking renewable energy project that's one of the kingdom's leading initiatives to help diversify its energy mix. With an installed capacity of 1,500 megawatts, it's part of Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 program, which aims to transform the nation's economy and reduce its dependence on oil. Developed by a consortium led by ACWA Power, a leading Saudi renewable energy company, and backed by the Saudi Public Investment Fund. This project is part of Saudi Arabia's Renewable Energy Project Development Program, which plans to develop over 58 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity by 2030. The plant covers an area of about 11.9 square miles or 30 square kilometers in Sudair Industrial City and costs around $924 million. Plus, it's got more than 4.5 million solar modules and uses advanced technology to costs of energy for solar power at just 0.014 cents per kilowatt hour. This shows just how competitive solar energy has become in Saudi Arabia and shows that economies of scale, advanced technology, and lucky climatic conditions can drive down renewable energy costs. Number 8. The Tengger Desert Solar Park in China. The Tengger Desert Solar Park in Ningxi, China has become known as the Great Wall of Solar, and it's one of several developments that are a part of China's move to a more sustainable future. With an installed capacity of 1.547 gigawatts, it's an enormous facility that covers an area about 16 square miles or 43 square kilometers and was the solar park with the largest peak capacity in 2018. The development of the solar park was led by several state-owned and private companies as part of China's broader efforts to accelerate its renewable energy transition. Completed in 2015, the project was built in phases, with each phase further adding to it significantly reduces air pollution and helps China meet its climate goals in comparison to the alternatives. The project was taken on to help with the country's commitment under the Paris Agreement to reach peak carbon emissions by 2030 and then to achieve carbon neutrality by 2060. Economically, the solar park has stimulated local development too, as its construction and operation of the facility have created jobs, boosted regional infrastructure, and attracted investors. There are difficulties in using a place like this for a solar farm though, mainly because of the harsh desert environment, with frequent sandstorms and extreme temperatures which pose some challenges. Dust easily accumulates on these solar panels, and this reduces their efficiency and means they need regular cleaning and maintenance. But not to the extent as other facilities, with a large reliance remaining on human workforces to keep it operational at peak output. Moving on to number 7, the Benban Solar Park in Egypt. The Benban Solar Park, which can be found near the city of Aswan in southern individual solar power plants, which collectively form a solar energy hub that feeds directly into their national grid. Historically, the country has relied heavily on natural gas and oil for electricity generation, so with increasing energy demands and global commitments to combat climate change, they launched the Feed-in Tariff program in 2014 to attract private investments in renewable energy. The project was therefore financed through the combination of private investments and loans from international organizations like the World Bank's International Finance Corporation. This public-private partnership model not only allowed for the construction of Benban, but also highlighted the possibilities of large-scale renewable energy projects in emerging markets. The total investment in the solar park was more than $4 billion, making it a major economic milestone for Egypt. The electricity produced by the solar park is enough to power more than 1 million households, based on the average consumption in Egypt, which has reduced the country's reliance on fossil fuels. This project has formed a blueprint for how Egypt, which is a location that was chosen for its high solar irradiance and the vast desert landscape. Covering an area equivalent to 4,500 football fields, this project was designed to provide clean electricity to over 160,000 homes and to offset approximately 2.5 million tons of carbon dioxide emissions. The use of advanced monitoring systems and cutting-edge technology, including bifacial solar panels and robotics for panel cleaning, means that it can continue operating at peak performance while minimizing the usage of water, which is pretty important in the desert conditions. There was a lot of interest in making this project happen, as it gave the opportunity to try newly developed technologies at such a scale that the end price would be competitively low. It did set a world record for the lowest tariff for solar electricity that had ever been proposed, at the equivalent to just over 1 cent per kilowatt hour. This price was reliant on the solar conditions of the region, a competitive bidding process, and the specific technology being used, so it's not replicable everywhere. But the more that prices drop like this project was commissioned as part of India's National Solar Mission, which aimed to achieve 100 gigawatts of solar capacity by 2022. The region here receives plenty of sunlight throughout the year, making it ideal for solar energy generation, as is the land and the environment that's unsuitable for agriculture or other forms of development. Importantly, the landowners were willing to lease their land to the government for the project, which gave over 2,300 farmers a fixed annual rent for their land, ensuring a steady income while retaining ownership. The park was developed in a modular way. It was divided into smaller plots of 50 megawatts each. These were auctioned to private developers for construction and operation. Now, this approach allowed a number of energy companies to take part, including the major players. The modular development also reduced the risks associated with having just one developer and sped up the construction process, enabling the project to become operational within record timeframe. In the end, it only took 2 years to complete, and it now generates around 4,500 million units of electricity each year in India, with an installed capacity of 2,245 megawatts. It covers an area over 14,000 acres in the Thar Desert, which is a region with high solar irradiance that's ideal for generating solar power. In fact, seen as one of the most suitable locations in the country for a project like this region receives intense sunlight for most of the year. The solar park is divided into 4 phases, each of which was developed by different public and private sector organizations. Companies like Acme Solar and Andani Green Energy and Azure Power were the main contributors to the development of the Badla Solar Park, with each constructing and operating their own parts of the facility. This then meant that the park was built in phases, with construction beginning in 2015 and the final phase becoming operational in 2020. The land acquisition process here was relatively simple, as much of the area was empty and unsuitable for agriculture, and unlike other Indian developments, the state government used land leasing model, offering compensation to landowners who would retain ownership of the land. This solar park, the temperatures here can reach in excess of 122 degrees Fahrenheit or 50 degrees Celsius, which can be damaging to the equipment and to any employees that work there. To overcome this, the developers of the project used newly designed heat-resistant materials and enforced strict safety protocols. Its remote location proved to be a challenge too, as this required huge investment into upgrading the transmission infrastructure to be able to handle the large amount of electricity that's generated. But now that that's been done, it's a reliable boost to the national grid at a time when India is developing at a pace unlike ever before. Number 3. The Mengshi Blue Ocean Photovoltaic Power Station in China. The Mengshi Blue Ocean Photovoltaic Power Station can be found in Inner Mongolia and is China's largest single-capacity photovoltaic power plant. There's been a huge drive in the country to move away from polluting energy methods towards renewable ones, and this is an approach that's perhaps no more clear than what's happened at this site, because the entire power station has actually been built on a former coal mine. Rare earth alloy grounding materials, which have reduced the overall costs by 40%. Steel foundations were also used instead of traditional concrete, which reduced the impact on the grassland ecosystem and means the diameter of the piles used to hold each panel in place are just a quarter of what they would have been. Other new technology at this development includes the Arctech Skywing single-axis dual-row solar tracking system. Now, this is a system that's expected to improve the plant's annual average grid-connected capacity by almost 7.5% by optimizing the angle of the solar panels as they follow the sun. Thought to have cost in the region of $1.7 billion to build, the Mengshi Blue Ocean Photovoltaic Power Station has only opened relatively recently, so it'll take a while to reach its peak production. It is, though, expected to be able to generate 5.7 billion kilowatt-hours of electricity each year, which is enough to power around 2 million households. But one of the more unusual and innovative aspects of this project is the idea that, even though there are solar panels, it doesn't have to mean that they're the only one. It opened in May of 2024, with a capacity of 3.5 gigawatts. It was a project that was developed by China Green Electricity Investment of Tianjin, a subsidiary of China Green Development Group, which is a major energy investment organization, and it's believed to have cost in the region of $2.13 billion to complete. The plant has over 5.2 million 650-watt monocrystalline bifacial double-glass photovoltaic panels, which are an advanced design that can capture sunlight on both sides. To support these, extensive infrastructure was needed, including over 1.2 million supporting piles, 5 booster stations, and more than 130 miles of transmission lines. In total, the plant should be expected to generate around 6.09 billion kilowatt-hours of electricity each year, which should be enough to power around 2.5 million households. The solar plant takes advantage of the area's plentiful sunlight, which makes it an ideal location for such a large-scale solar project. Its success so far has shown an ability and commitment by Autonomous Prefecture. And it is the largest solar power generating facility in the world, although rather than being one solar farm, it is technically a number of them that are together on the same site. Covering an area of 235 square miles or 609 square kilometers, it's an installed capacity of 8,430 megawatts, which is more than double that of any other solar facility on the planet. Plans first began in 2012, with the power station meant to become China's first 10 million kilowatt class solar power base. This project was developed in phases, attracting investments from 91 energy organizations, including 63 solar companies and 28 wind power firms. The solar park uses panel modules with a rated capacity of 420 watts and 445 watts, which improves the energy conversion efficiency. Positioning, combined with high-efficiency panels, means that the site is able to produce a substantial amount of electricity. This was, of course, a hugely costly project that took more than $3 billion to complete. Not just